birth. So the combination of material energy and the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of the manifestation of material world. The efficient cause is therefore not matter, but the Lord Himself. Om Tat Sat. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Patakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto them. Hare Krishna. So very nice verse here, and it very clearly gives us a very clear understanding as to what the illuminated path means. And as we read through it, the idea of illumination is given to us, and what does it mean for devotees? Because it is very easy for people to say illumination. Illumination can be by anything. Illumination can be by a light, it can be by a lamp, it can be by a candle. But the illumination that we are talking here is something very, very different. And what does it mean for devotees? Right from the time that the jiva comes into this material world, he becomes entangled. And so much of spiritual knowledge is to be given out because there's so much available. And this is with the mercy of all the Vaishnavas that we give out this knowledge. We get this knowledge and we have to give out this knowledge. Again, another thing that needs to be really looked at is the necessity for surrender. And surrender and service actually go hand in hand. And what happens is the sense gratification takes us away from the service. And when we don't do service, we don't accept service, we also don't surrender ourselves. So these are challenges that we see. Here, it's very nicely said. Surya Dvarena. Very, very, very clearly it says, what is Surya Dvarena? It is illumination. The path of illumination is to go back home, back to Godhead. The illuminated path is devotional services. Very clearly, Srila Prabhupada gives that. What does illumination mean? It's the path of sun, the path of illumination is equated to devotional service here. Those who are Brahmanically or Brahmana initiated, and they chant Gayatri, they chant that Gayatri mantra. And when we tell people that, we're chanting a Gayatri mantra, they think that we are chanting the mantra for the glorification of Sun God. But as devotees, we know that these prayers are at the Lord's feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Many times people call us hypocrites. They say, you always say that there cannot be a worship of the demigods. There should not be a worship of the demigod. And we always say that you should water the root and you don't have to go to every twig and water. So that's a very popular example that we give. then people come back to us saying that then while you're chanting the Gayatri, you're actually offering prayers to, demigods. Lord Surya Narayan is one of the demigods. And it's actually, that's the way that it is perceived by people. But we are, as devotees of the Lord, we all know that very well, that our prayer is at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is also advised in the Vedas that, we should not pass through the darkness and we have to pass through the sun. And when this example is also given, they say, which means that you're asking for demigod worship. And when we worship Suryadev, it is actually the prayers are offered at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You must have also heard of, people practicing the yoga, the yoga posture system and the pranayama and all that, in which one of the important part of it is Surya Namaskar, offering our obeisances to Sun God. And in this verse, Srila Prabhupada very clearly says that worshipping Sun is to progress on the path of illumination, and that's the devotional service. Jiva Goswami actually writes a commentary on the Gayatri chanting, and towards the end, he describes the worship of Lord Surya. And he says, as the rays of the sun are transcendental, sun is also transcendental. Because sun god is derived from Govinda. Gayatri mantra is not a worship of the sun. It is the mother of all the mantras. Gayatri mantra is considered in our Shastras as the mother of all the mantras. And the essence of the Vedas are actually put into Gayatri mantra. The path of Surya Dvarena, who can enter that area where the Supreme Personality of Godhead resides? Those devotees who follow this path actually are directed towards the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they only can proceed further and go into the permanent residence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here again in the shloka, it says Purusham Vishnuto Mukham. And all the living entities are there, other than the Supreme, are actually very small, though we may look, 5 feet, 6 feet, at times 7 feet, huge body, very well-built body, and all of that. But we are actually very, very small. It's called infinitesimal. And in the Vedas also, there's a very, in Katha Upanishad, it is told, Nityo Nityanam Chetaso Chetanas Chetananam. That is, the Lord is the chief individual living entity, the leader of the subordinate living entities. Very clearly, Katha Upanishad, gives this, saying that he is the chief individual. He's the chief individual of the living entities, and the leader. Very clearly, it establishes that he is the leader, and everybody else around is the subordinate living entities. Amongst the eternal, he is the most important, and he's the shelter of the material world in the material world. And at the same time, this material world is also created by him. It is said Krishna is the seed-giving father. Yeah. And how does he really give the seed? He's a seed-giving father, and the seed is given to Mother Prakriti. And that's where he's the father of all the living entities. And here also very nicely an example is given by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. He says, without the combination of mother and father, we cannot produce anything in the womb. Yeah. So Bhagavad Gita actually teaches us the path of devotional. And there is definitely a huge distinction between the other demigods and Sun God. Sun God is also considered to be demigod, but it's a category by itself. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 23, which deals about cosmology, it gives a very clear-cut examples. It gives you a very clear understanding that Sun God is absolutely a category by itself. He is appointed to his positions, and all the other entities, other demigods are living entities. Yeah. Actually, the demigods get the specific power. The difference between sun god and the demigods is that these demigods get the specific power, and the Sakyavesh avatar, the power is directly the Lord himself. Yeah, it's a direct, very, very clear understanding. And it is also very nicely described as Vibhuti Yoga in chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita. So if we really look at, the Vishnu Tattvas and the Sakyavesh avatar kind of things, then we will see that the Shaktis are given to them. The Vishnu Tattvas, Narad Muni for that matter, is a Bhakti Shakti is given to Narad Muni. The four Kumaras, the knowledge Shakti or Jnana Shakti is given to them. For Brahma, it is the creation Shakti which is given to them, and so on and so forth. So Surya Narayan is an empowered incarnation. Yeah. So this is very clearly given and very nicely explained by Srila Prabhupada in this verse, that the idea of the illumination should not be felt otherwise. By meaning illumination, we actually look at the path of devotional service. How can one be taken into path of devotional service? How can one progress in the path of devotional service? When it is an absolutely pitch dark night, and even a small torch can work wonders to guide us away. But when we look at the energy of sun god, it is very easy, because it is absolutely bright when we see the energy of sun god, the bright rays of sun god, and we can be directed towards devotional service and not to be misused otherwise. Yeah. So in the Vedas also, we see that it has been asked, saying that we should not go through the darkness, but we should pass through the sun planet. One more point in this part of it is the material energy is also his energy. Yeah, this is the energy of Supreme Personality of God. It is not different from him. Just as the combination, as I said earlier, the combination of father and mother is the cause of the childbirth. So the combination of material energy and the glance of Supreme Personality of God, as I said earlier, Prakriti is given the seed. And that's where we become, we actually become children of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he says very clearly, I am the seed-giving father. Yeah. The efficient cause is therefore not the matter, but the Lord himself. So this describes very clearly as to what Lord is and how he has to be, and how we have to really look at the energies of the Lord, the sun god, which is the energy of the Lord. Today, being a very auspicious day, I thought, apart from the shloka, we should also understand here and, about the pastimes of Snan Yatra a little bit. I thought I'll cover a few things here. We've had a beautiful Snan Yatra this day. We've just celebrated that and coming back. Close to about 2,500 devotees attended this Snan Yatra, and very blissful Snan Yatra. Apart from the Snan Yatra, we also celebrated the Chidadahi Mahotsav today, because we had gone to the banks of Mother Kaveri, about 150 kilometers from Bangalore. So we celebrated a beautiful, very nice Snan Yatra. What is the pastime of the Snan Yatra is what I thought I should discuss a little bit with the devotees here, and it'd be nice to understand what the Snan Yatra is all about. So Snan Yatra basically is the deities of Sri Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadramai were actually established on this day by King Indradumna, and the bathing ceremony was arranged. So on this day, it is also a very famous day which says the appearance of Lord Jagannath. I'm sure all of us know how the deities of Lord Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadramai came, and how the log of woods came, and then the so-called incomplete, though through our eyes we call it as incomplete, but that's the form of the Lord which is actually complete. And in Jagannath Puri, the deities of Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadramai are actually bought outside from the temple in a very big procession. This procession is called the it is brought to the Snan Vidhi, it is called Snan Vedi. It's the bathing pandal which is actually created. And the special pandal is also called Snan Mandap. And the process is also huge. All the devotees gather together and then, they celebrate on a very big scale. So likewise, and Srila Prabhupada brought this festival to the Western world as well, where devotees started celebrating the Snana Yatra, and they also started celebrating the Ratha Yatra in the Western world. Is traditionally their lordships get all kind of perfumes as dupa, aguru, and all the other kinds of things are offered. And then there are 108 gold vessels which are filled in water from very special well containing waters from all the holy tirthas. The Abhishek is performed with this water accompanied by chanting of the holy name and the kirtan and the blowing of the conch. And what is the significance of this Snana Yatra, and what does happen after this? So the significance of when the bath is over, when the snan is over, the lordships give their darshan in a very, very special attire or very special form, I would say. So there's also a pastime behind this. So there was a devotee called Ganesha, a devotee of Ganesha. His name was Ganapati Bhatta, who had come to Jagannath Puri to participate in the Snana Yatra. But when he saw Lord Jagannath did not have any elephant head, he became very disappointed. And then, he decided to leave from there. Lord Jagannath is the Paramatma within everybody's heart, and immediately he understood the desire and the cause of dissatisfaction of Ganapati Bhatta. Because when somebody goes to Jagannath, nobody can be dissatisfied, or nobody can have any, shortcomings in his heart. The satisfaction has to be full. When we see Jagannath, the satisfaction is full because he's got those huge, big eyes with which he's seeing us. So when we see Jagannath, for me personally, I many times feel that, I see Jagannath with very small eyes, but Jagannath is seeing me with huge eyes, big eyes. So I have to be really satisfied saying that it's not me who's having the darshan of Jagannath. It's actually darshan, Jagannath is actually having a look of me. So this dissatisfaction in Ganapati Bhatta was noticed by, or was understood by Jagannath. And Lord Jagannath took the form of a Brahmana and went to Ganapati Bhatta, who had actually gone out of the temple, and he was about to leave from Puri. And when Jagannath in the form of this Brahmana met Ganapati Bhatta, he said, you please come back to the evening, come back to the temple in the evening, and have a darshan of Lord Jagannath. So just to please his devotee, Lord Jagannath appeared in this very specific form called Hativesh. So it's a very nice darshan of the deities on this Snana Yatra day. Let me just take this opportunity to show it to all the devotees, if I can share my screen. Just the darshan of, I'm sure all the devotees can have the darshan of Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadramai in the Hathi Vesha avatar, which is very nicely decorated here. So this is the pastime behind the wonderful, Snana Yatra and the festival which is celebrated in Jagannath Puri. And this follows by another very big festival after a couple of days, which is the Ratha Yatra festival, on which their lordships actually board on the chariots and then go out and give darshan to general public, because Lord wants to give his darshan to all his devotees. Whether you come to the temple or you don't come to the temple, I will still come out and give you my darshan. And that's the reason that Jagannath, along with his brother, Baldev and sister Subhadra, along with Sudarshan, board on the chariot and go out and give darshan to all the devotees. So this is a very nice story about Snana Yatra and how the Lord reciprocates. The Lord is very merciful and he understands the heart of the devotees. And Ganapati Bhatta gets the darshan of Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadrama in the Hathi Vesha, which is today's special arrangement that generally happens. Apart from this, a very nice story today I would like to narrate about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And here in the class today that we discussed, that illumination is the devotional service. And many times we fail to take devotional service, but then we get the mercy of our Guru Maharaj, we get the mercy of the Vaishnavas, we get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, who started the whole movement. And because of their causeless mercy, we get connected to Krishna and then we go back home, back to Godhead. So there was a very famous dacoit, and his name was Nauroji. This is the pastime when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in South India, and from South India he was actually going back. And this is on the borders of Karnataka, Maharashtra. Those days, Karnataka, Maharashtra, or today's Karnataka, Maharashtra, and those days it was something else. And when he's passing through this forest, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after finishing a lot of things here, he passes through the forest and then he enters it's called Chocharadi forest. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is entering this jungle, there are a lot of people who actually advise Chaitanya Mahaprabhu not to go inside because there were a lot of dacoits and they would loot anybody who actually went into the jungle. So, as usual, our merciful incarnation, most merciful incarnation, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, I want to actually deliver this so-called dacoit, Nauroji. And he enters into the forest and then he goes to a place and starts chanting of the holy name. He is actually sitting at one place and he is chanting the holy name of the Lord, continuously chanting the holy name of the Lord. And just prior to this, when the people were actually warning Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, saying that there's a dacoit who's very fearful and who's very notorious and he will not leave anybody into the forest. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, hey, look, I'm a beggar who lives on alms. I go on begging and people give me something. I actually live on alms. And the dacoit cannot actually loot anything from me. I don't have anything to give it to him. But still, people insisted, saying that, he's not really a good-natured person. He would kill a lot of people and all that. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as usual, wanted to give mercy. And when he wants to give mercy, he has his ways and means of giving mercy to anybody that he wants to give mercy. So he says, I will enter into the forest, and he enters into the forest. And while he's in the forest, he sits at one particular place and starts chanting the holy name of the Lord. And what happens is this Nauroji's assistants, dacoits also have secretaries and, the junior dacoits and all of that. So they come to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and they see this very nicely dressed sannyasi who's sitting there and chanting the holy name of the Lord. And they tell him, don't you know, have you not heard of Nauroji? He will take away whatever you have and he'll kill you. Why have you come here? Please go away from here. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in trance, and he's in trance, and he continues to chant the holy name of the Lord without getting disturbed by this junior dacoits who actually come and warn him. He continues his prayers and he's continuously chanting the holy name of the Lord. So these juniors go back and report this to Nauroji, who's himself a fearful person. So Nauroji says, okay, let me also see what I can do. I will myself go and talk to the sannyasi and kill him and take away whatever he has. So the following day, Nauroji actually comes there and sees Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when he sees Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he actually gets intoxicated. And he was very pleased. And by seeing the simplicity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his faith on the holy name, he falls down at his lotus feet and surrenders himself. And there's absolutely a complete change which happens in Nauroji. And then he requests Mahaprabhu to have prasadam with him, and then when they have prasadam, uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agrees to it, and after having prasadam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu leads the singing of the Sankirtan movement. He's leading the Hare Krishna, mantra, and his voice, which was, very, very loud and very sweet, and his beautiful face attracted Noroji completely. His heart completely melted, seeing the love and the devotion that Mahaprabhu had. He fell down at Mahaprabhu's feet and asked him to take him as disciple. And he also vowed on the same thing, saying that I will not take away, or I will give away completely the violence that I was doing, the bloodshed that I was doing, and I will lead a very peaceful life. And actually, Noroji goes back and tells about his pastime, also saying that while he was a child, he was inflicted a lot of violence and pain. So that's the reason he actually becomes a dacoit. So the understanding of the story for us to really know is, when children start getting Krishna consciousness right from their birth, or right from their very elderly, very young age, very tender age, it is very easy for them to inculcate those practice. Likewise here, Nauroji, because from the childhood he was inflicted a lot of violence and pain on him, he became a person like that. So we have to train our children within our family with Krishna consciousness. They may not agree, they may not really want what we want them to do, but then whatever little bit, we have to start giving it to them. They may not be interested in sitting in a class, so give them a nice prasadam. They may not be interested in, sitting in Srimad Bhagavatam class, but then, make them sit in Kirtan. Maybe you can make them learn nice instruments and they can become devotees. Small children in most of our centers across the world, we have the Sunday classes for them, or Bhakta Prahlad school, or various different names that we call the schools. So we should end up, sending our children, and also invite the neighborhood children to go there, because when children are small, it is very easy to mold them, and we can really get them to take up to Krishna consciousness at a later date when we have this training which is given. So, continuing the story of Nauroji, he actually surrenders to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and says that he would like to travel along with him. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agrees that he and there was another assistant or secretary who could travel with him. And he also accepts Nauroji as his disciple, and they continue. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continues his journey. And, the other disciple was only Govinda Das, who was with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu apart from Nauroji. So as they move forward from there, they travel a little bit, and at a later date, they reach some place, and that is where Nauroji, actually becomes very sick, and he leaves his body in the presence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually completes his last rites as if he was doing it for his own brother, a family relationship kind of thing. So we understand this, how merciful Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. I'm not too sure if devotees have heard of the story of Nauroji earlier. But it's a beautiful story. I felt I should share it because it's not commonly spoken in our circles about Nauroji. So I felt this is a very nice story that we should all, understand and learn from the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, saying that we have to be very, very compassionate to everybody. Forget being only for the devotees. We have to even go out and preach. And that's what Sri Prabhupada himself started this movement for. He went to the US at a very, very early age and gave this knowledge to everybody there. And likewise, a lot of our own, spiritual masters, it can be His Holiness Shri Japtak Swami Guru Maharaj, it can be His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, or it can be His Holiness Lokanath Swami Maharaj. They go out and preach everybody. It could be even His Holiness Indradyumna Swami Maharaj or Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. So all this wonderful Vaishnavas have been doing that, and we have to also make this as life of our, this should be the mission of our life. And with that mission of our life, we can become very, very active in preaching the holy name of the Lord. So this is one part that I thought I should discuss about the stories of Nauroji. Nauroji is a very, very important story. And little quick, you know, story about Panihati festival, because we also celebrate the Panihati festival today, and it's still fresh in my mind. Nicely, done by the devotees. The devotees put so many days of efforts to organize this festival, and about 2,500 plus devotees joined this program. We had nice Krishna Katha, nice drama performed by the Youth Forum boys, and then followed by wonderful Mahaprasad. Yes, never to forget the Abhishek or the Snan Yatra of their lordships, and the bathing of their lordship Shri Nitai Chaitanya into Mother Kaveri. So this is about the meeting of Nityananda Prabhu and Raghunath Das Goswami. This is one of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. And Raghunath Das Goswami actually initially desired, he met Nityananda Prabhu first time when he came to stay in Shantipura after the renunciation. So Nityananda Prabhu here was meeting a lot of people, and Raghunath Das Goswami came here, and he also expressed his desire to leave his house and devote his life in the service of the Lord in front of Nityananda Prabhu. But Nityananda Prabhu actually refused. He said, within your heart, you should keep yourself very, very faithful, but externally you may behave like an ordinary man. So there's a very nice example which can be taken, because when there's a lady who has a paramour, somebody else in her life other than her husband, she does all the home chores very nicely, sweeping, mopping, cooking, but her mind is always thinking of the paramour or the person with whom she has an illicit affair. And though you may see her doing everything absolutely fine, cooking, doing her home chores, getting things done, making the children ready and sending them to, to schools, whatever. But then at the back of her mind, she's always thinking of the paramour, the person other than her husband. So here, Nityananda Prabhu also gives that very clearly, saying that within your heart, you should keep yourself very, very faithful. But externally, you should behave like an ordinary man. So, and then Nityananda Prabhu says that, Krishna will be very pleased and he will deliver you from the clutches of Maya. So, and Nityananda Prabhu also gives this instruction saying that you will see me in Nilachaladham, Jagannath Puri, when I return from my, visit to Vrindavan. And that time you can think of coming and meeting me, or maybe you want to have some trick to escape from your family. But till such time, you should use this time to be revealed by Krishna. And if Krishna's mercy comes in, nobody can check you. And why is this festival called as Danda Mahotsav or Danda Festival? Or is it called the Festival of Punishment? After this, when he met Nityananda Prabhu, 2 years had passed. And one day Raghunath Das Goswami heard that Nityananda Prabhu had come back and he was staying in a nearby village named as Panihati. And during his stay, Raghunath Das Goswami thought that he should take this opportunity to go and have darshan of Nityananda Prabhu. So he reached Panihati festival, and then he saw Nityananda Prabhu sitting on a rock under the banyan tree, which is right next to the Ganga river. And he was surrounded by a lot of devotees, and a lot of kirtan was happening on, and a lot of performers were there, and there were a lot of followers, and all of that was happening. And Raghunath Das Goswami was amazed to see the magnificence of Nityananda Prabhu. But he was actually very hesitant to go forward and see him, as he thought himself to be very unqualified. He said, no, I can't go very close to Nityananda Prabhu because I have no qualification. I have not done anything. So he offers his obeisances from a distance. And Nityananda Prabhu gets to know that, he has done so, Raghunath Das Swami. So he calls him and tells him that you're a thief. Now you have come to see me. You come here. Today I shall punish you. This was in the Ante Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, 6th chapter, 47 verse. Very nicely, he says, you're a thief. he calls Raghunath Das Goswami as a thief. So in those days, it was Raghunath Das. It was not Goswami. He had still not taken the sannyas ashram. So he was called as Raghunath Das. And what happens is, I shall punish you is what he says. You've been seeing me from a distance. Now that I've caught you, I'm going to be punishing you. And then he says, make a festival and feed all my associates yogurt and chipped rice. So immediately the arrangements were done for the celebration, and Raghunath Das sends all his men to bring all the ingredients and eatable items and made the arrangement for a huge festival. Chipped rice, bananas, milk, sweet dishes, yogurt, and many more edible items were bought in. As people heard about this festival, that this festival is going to be held here in Panihati, all the brahmanas started flowing in from Panihati, in and around Panihati, and all the villages nearby. And seeing the big crowd that was coming in, Raghunath Das had to order many more items, and he had to also order large earthen pots to put those items into it. In one place, the chipped rice was soaked in a hot milk in a very large earthen pot. Half of the rice was mixed with yogurt, sugar, and bananas, and the remaining half got mixed with condensed milk, flavored with butter. So that's the way Chidadahi is made. And after all this, delicious food was ready, Lord Nityananda came out. He returned after wearing new clothes and sat down to, have this offering which was done to him. And he was sitting on a little rice platform. So there were 7 large pots of chipped rice were bought and placed in front of him on that platform, on that particular platform. And, all the other associates, especially the prominent ones, also gathered with him to eat the chipped rice. Lord Nityananda honored the chipped rice. The other scholars, brahmanas, and the priest were also invited to sit with him on the raised platform because they were all qualified. And for all the devotees, 2 earthen pots were served with 2 kinds of chipped rice. One is with the condensed milk and one is the other one. So this was being served to everybody. So everybody sat down around that raised platform. Some of them didn't take place, so they went a little far. Some of them went very near to the Ganges. And some of them could not get place anywhere. So they actually took their pots and went into the Ganges and started eating the chipped rice. And in those days, Raghunath Das had employed 20 people to serve the food, to serve all these devotees. So in this place where we see Nityananda Prabhu is honoring this, he started meditating on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes in, Nityananda Prabhu stood up, and they were both standing. Actually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not there physically there for people to say so. But Nityananda Prabhu, with his love and devotion, he got Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there. And they both stood together and watched how people were enjoying the festival of chipped rice. And they also enjoyed the transcendental bliss that they were having, moving around with devotees, talking to each of the devotees. Nityananda Prabhu took, chipped rice from each devotee's pot and fed actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his own hands. And the same way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would also take some morsels and push it in the mouth of Nityananda Prabhu. People could not understand what Nityananda Prabhu was doing because nobody could actually see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there. Only some very fortunate, those very close associates could see the presence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there. And, they were likewise enjoying this festival where Chidadahi was served, the chipped rice was served. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was serving Nityananda Prabhu and Nityananda Prabhu was serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So whenever he took up a morsel and gave it, the morsel vanished there and people were thinking, what is happening? Who's there? So that's the pastime that we actually celebrate. And the whole universe actually was enjoying this. It was like Krishna and Balram sitting together and eating prashadam. And everybody started chanting, Hari, 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 Hari. And whatever was left over was served to all the devotees and all the associates and the followers. And by this way, Nityananda Prabhu actually blessed Raghunath Das and showered his glance upon him. Right at the beginning, when Raghunath Das was called by Nityananda Prabhu, he had made him he had made his day very, very auspicious by placing his lotus feet on the head of Raghunath Das. So that's the mercy that Raghunath Das was so fortunate that he could get from Nityananda Prabhu. And not only that, he was also very happy that he could serve, Raghunath Das could serve the chipped rice to Nityananda Prabhu and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is the wonderful festival of Chidadahi Mahamotsav. So I will end my discussion here. In case if there are any questions, I'll be happy to take them, and any comments or any corrections that you feel in my discussion today that we had, I'm happy to accept that. Thank you very much for your patient hearing, and I hope you all enjoyed the Snana Yatra festival today and the Chidadahi festival 2 days before this. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Such a wonderful class. You did so much and you really brought out the essence. So thank you for joining. I just told you yesterday and you accepted. In spite of Snan Yatra, you did. So I know you are not on the bodily platform, you are on the soul platform. All the best, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Right. Hare Krishna.
B.S. Narayan, Prabhu, anything?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Wonderful class. So many nice pastimes. Really, it was a good thing. So one thing I wanted to ask, that in Jagannath Puri, that whether now also that decoration is done like that, maybe once in a year or something? On which
yes,
day?
Prabhu, it is today. It is today's day. On the Snan Yatra day, they do the Hathi Vesh decoration to their Lordship Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadramai.
Okay.
It is done even today.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. And you also told about that we are actually worshipping Lord Krishna while doing the Gayatri mantra. No, exactly. All the entire mantra is like that only. Actually, we are worshipping Lord Krishna only. The meaning is like that.
True, very true, Prabhu. But it is understood otherwise, so I thought this was an essence that we should bring out. So we are actually worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead when we are chanting the Gayatri mantra. The second initiates within the ISKCON movement chant the Gayatri mantra, and that's where they reach out as calling to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
7 Gayatri we chant, no? When that 2 for Guru, yes. 2 for. But it is not Gayatri Devi is also there, no? When it's on that Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha, that is.
No. Same. See, in the Gayatri mantra, towards the end, you see everything is towards Krishna only. Sarvam Krishna is there. You see, if you see the other mantras, subsequent mantras, everything is addressed to Krishna only.
So there is no Gayatri Devi, there is no.
That is different. But actually Krishna only.
So Jiva Goswami makes a very nice commentary, and at the end he very clearly states this, saying that this is an offering to Krishna and it is only for Krishna.
The same way, on the Shraddha day also, whatever we do, the Homa, everything is Krishna only. That is, we have seen by doing that, every mantra, every Homa, everything is addressed to Krishna only.
Even the Sandhyavandanam, Shukla, Bharadram, Vishtam, Sashivarnam, the last loka is Aga Sabhya, Sarvadaya Namaskar, Keshavam Pratigachati.
Exactly. Everything is addressed to Krishna only.
Keshavam Pratigachati. It is for Krishna. Thank you very much, Narayanan Prabhu, for adding that, and Shukakara Krishna Prabhu completing it. So nice of it. Thank you very much.
Ahinsha Prabhu, anything you want to?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanatpana. Prabhuji, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the beautiful class, Prabhuji. And one point I liked the most was that the point of Bhagavad Gita is the path of devotion. I like that point, Prabhuji. And yes, Prabhuji. And that pastime of Hathi Vesha and Noroji and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I didn't know that. Thank you, Prabhuji, for enlightening, Prabhuji.
And
There
I
is
want to
not
ask
as much.
this question. How many devotees have heard of the pastime of Navroji?
I don't
I've
know.
heard today.
I had also thought probably that, not many of us would have heard of this in the past. So I felt it was a very nice pastime, and this being a very
On the right day.
on the act day, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you very much, Ayan Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
So actually, Krishna is going back to Godhead. What I had heard before from Padmini Mataji was that he goes with his body and he called this his Daruka, and he says, I will go on my own. He will go and Shiva and Brahma will see he's entering Golok Vrindavan. But I saw in the Prabhupada this one that when the hunter came and the arrow came, and then Arjuna doing the last rite burning, but the heart will not go, heart will remain. So there was a confusion of why this Krishna has a spiritual body, so why you have to burn it.
Prabhu, I would also need some clarity because I'm not an expert in that area. Maybe I think next time when we connect with Prema Padmini Mataji, I think we should ask this question. I have a similar doubt, but I've not been able to clarify that doubt with anybody.
But what she said is that Krishna having spiritual body, but since he has come, he just wanted to show it because there is no body for him. That's why the heart is the thing which is still there, and Jagannath is getting the same heart every 12 years. It's passing on.
Yes, Prabhu. So this pastime continues at Shri Jagannath Puri Dham, and the senior most Panda does the transition. Maybe I'm not using the right word. They do the transition from one deity to another deity to another deity form. And, I've also heard this, body, what you're telling, the deity of Jagannath, which has been there for 12 years, when they take it and then, there's a nice place just behind the temple. There's a garden where they actually keep them. And when you open it next time, you don't find anything there.
Yes.
Yeah. So that means Krishna has a very spiritual body. So, if there's a body like ours, then the remnants would be there. If you see where people bury, then when you actually remove it from there, then you will find bones and skull and everything. But, though I may not be using the exact comparison, but then this is my thinking that I was also having, that Krishna doesn't have a material body. Absolutely. He has only spiritual body. So this happens in Jagannath Puri every 12 years, and you still don't find any traces of the deities which are being actually taken into the garden.
But when they shift from one deity to the other deity, they're doing on a Amavasya day in the night, and all the lights all over Jagannath Puri power off.
Goes off.
And even the Panda who is doing, he has to tie his eye and go and do it.
Yes.
And after finishing, he also leaves the body. He goes back to God. It's such a wonderful thing, And the same family is doing, there's no change. The same family is continuing right from those times.
Yes. And the senior most Panda in the family actually goes and voluntarily does it. His eyes are tied completely. And then he goes, and there are no lights, and he still does it. It still happens. Yeah, so there are a lot of things which are above our material thinking and material, understanding within Krishna consciousness also.
Inconceivable. Inconceivable.
Very inconceivable. These are pastimes of Krishna which are absolutely inconceivable by the material eyes and the material mind.
There's no brain to think on that, but that is the higher velocity.
Yes. Thank you very much for that addition, Shukakar Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. But when you come, we feel so happy. Oh, Uttam Damodar coming.
I'm blessed with the association of all the wonderful Vaishnavas there. I get this opportunity to speak.
But I feel so sad. So many less people are there, and I feel.
No, Prabhu, it's fine. Srila Prabhupada said, even if there is one person in the hall, go ahead and speak. Speaking while so many nice Vaishnavas are available, you are there. His Grace Ajit Prabhu is there. His Grace Narayan Prabhu is there, Ayan Prabhu is there. There are other devotees also who are there who had to leave a little earlier. We saw the messages. Some of the devotees said they had to leave the class after the class was over while we were taking question answers. So it's absolutely fine, Prabhu. And it's for my own purification because I'm a very fallen soul. You're giving me an opportunity to purify myself, speak about the holy name of the Lord, speak something on the subject. And Prabhu, one thing very important that I feel is, whenever you're asked to give a class, you have to do some study at least. So that study is forced on you. And when the study is forced on you on a normal day, like you rightly said yesterday, you asked me, and I was thinking tomorrow is Dhanyatra, I'm going to be away the whole day, starting early morning. And I had my seva at the festival site as well, complete day. And I was thinking, will I do it? But when I'm forced, I had to.
The time will come.
For the pleasure of, time will come. For the pleasure of Guru and Krishna and all the Vaishnavas, I think, it's important. Though I may not be competent and I would not have spoken very nicely today, but at least I wanted to give it a try. I didn't want to miss this opportunity of speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam.
What I heard is, you should never say no when somebody gives for class. You should give even 1 hour time also should give, because Krishna, when you're chanting, we're ready to get some seva. But when you don't accept the seva, next time rather than you say he's begging, I'm giving, not taking, what can I do? Next time she'll think whether to give or not. It's been given to somebody else. But it is also wrong on my part to ask you on the last day. I also did bad that kal raat ko 8 baje aapko bola main, Prabhu, can you please do it? And you immediately said Snan Yatra, but it's 9 o'clock, I will do it. So I was so happy that, you reflected so nicely. And I hear you chanting also in the morning, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So much clarity. You don't rush also, but you do it. आपका chanting एकदम प्रभुपाद का जैसे एकदम पक्का one word you listen and do.
This is our foundation, Prabhu. Chanting is the foundation for our spiritual growth. Though I've still not grown, I'm trying to. With the mercy of Guru and Krishna and all the Vaishnavas, I will grow someday. I have this confidence in the chanting, and that's why I try to do it, though it is still not perfect. I want to reach the perfection level. Krishna will help me with the blessings of all the Vaishnavas, saying that I will reach someday. I'm trying.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Recording, recording. I don't know whether Ajit Prabhu did or not.
Prabhuji, it is telecasted live on YouTube, so we have the available.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Very sorry, Prabhu, I just got a call, so I was not able to attend the last part of it. So.
Prabhu, it was a fantastic class. No, you attended. Initially, you were there. No.
Yes. Initially, I was there. I was there on Snan Yatra also, and this narration of Raghunath Das Goswami pastime also. I heard everything, but at the last, I got a call, so I am very sorry, Prabhuji.
Prabhu is in Bangladesh now. He's in Bangladesh and he's terribly unwell. He's not well. And Rameshwar is going to Saudi Arabia. That's why I was worried how we will open your thing. Prabhu said I will come at any cost. Whatever maybe I will come. Then my connection got cut off.
Yes.
At 8:59 I came, but that went off. Then again I came on the mobile.
Yes, Prabhu.
This is an online problem. But we feel sad the class is over. Your class is so absorbing, We all love you so much, Prabhu. We all love you so much, Prabhu. On soul level, soulmate.
We are all soulmates, yes. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So we'll log out here if there's anything else or any other comment. Thank you very much for joining and giving me this opportunity to speak on this auspicious day of Snan Yatra. Let's offer our humble obeisance to all the Vaishnava devotees who are like desiredly fulfilling the desires of the fallen material souls. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
kripa sindhubhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
Uttam Damodar Prabhu ki jai ho. Gauranga, Nityananda, Gauranga, Nityananda. Jai Jai Sri Radhesham. Sabko mile Vrindavan Dham.
Hare
Govardhan
Hare
Giridhari Lal ki jai ho.
Krishna.
Jai Ho.
Hare